Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Wade Watches. I'm Wade. Happy Valentine's Day to all of you guys out there. I hope you have had a great Valentine's Day filled with peace, love, and joy. Whether you're celebrating with someone else or just celebrating your own self love and self worth. Hope it was a great holiday for you guys. And in honor of Valentine's Day, and also to continue my Black History Month Black Movies Matter series, I'm going to be taking a look at Carmen Jones from 1954, directed by Otto Preminger and starring Dorothy Dandridge, Harry Belafonte, and Pearl Bailey. So this movie is most widely known for earning Dorothy Dandridge an Oscar nomination for Best Actress, thus making her the first Black woman in cinematic history to receive that nomination. But not much else. At least for me personally. I haven't heard much else about this movie apart from the fact that it's Dorothy Dandridge's most well-known role, and she was, of course, instrumental in breaking down a lot of barriers for black women in Hollywood. Though her career was tragically cut short, she was a very prominent leading black woman in film, and this is definitely again one of her most well-known roles. Other than that, I know that it's based off of George Bizet's opera Carmen, which I actually did watch a full performance of not too long ago, so I'm familiar with the original opera's story and characters and songs, and I have to say that they really did a good job of bringing the feeling, just capturing the overall feeling of the original opera Carmen in this film, which is set in World War II. So they took it out of 1800s, I think, Seville, Spain, and we're now in World War II America. It features an all black cast, and it takes place, parts of it take place in Chicago. I don't think they say the name, like the location of where they are before Chicago. I guess somewhere in the South, but Chicago. It takes place, like, the second half of this movie pretty much takes place in Chicago. So that's where we are now. World War II, South and Chicago, and it's pretty much like a pretty loyal, faithful adaptation of the original opera Carmen. Not really much. There's not much to say in the way of plot. But for those of you who might not be familiar with the original opera, though, you probably know da 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 da. You probably know that song thanks to a certain animatronic bear. But if you're not familiar with the opera, it is, to sum it up, more or less that love triangle. There's a lot of passion, there's seduction involved, and it being an opera, it ends in tragedy. Not to spoil this particular movie, but it's based on an opera, so you can probably guess what type of ending it has. And I will. The only thing really, the two things that do stand out to me are real, honestly, the two leads of the movie, Dorothy Dandridge and Harry Belafonte. Dorothy Dandridge, this is the only movie I've seen of hers so far, but she's very charismatic. She has a lot of energy. Whenever she's on the screen, she's just one of those actresses who just makes the screen her own. Like, every scene that she's in, she just you just feel her presence. You can just, like, feel her energy, like, through the screen. I can understand why she was as popular as she was back in her day. And she's very beautiful to look at. Like, I was very smitten with her, which is very fitting because Carmen is meant to be, kind of a siren of sorts, very seductive, very alluring, very, very, she's meant to come off like she's very, tempting to men, luring all the sorts of different men, very flirty, all that good stuff. And it was part in certain scenes, it was working. It was really working for me. And I like Harry Belafonte too. Without giving away much, he's very much caught in a very hard place. He has ambitions that Carmen kind of interferes with. He of course there's another woman that he has before he comes across Carmen, so that makes for a dilemma that you've probably seen before. It's been done. It's been done to death. Carmen is probably one of the most iconic love triangle stories. Definitely, even though it was an opera from the 1800s, I probably wouldn't even say that Carmen is the oldest, but it's one of the more older ones, of course. So everything in it was predictable, and I could see where it was going and everything. There were no surprises to be had here, but I thought it was a decent adaptation of that story, of the story overall. I appreciate the fact that despite the fact that this film features an all black cast. It's a movie that came out in 1954, and it was directed by Otto Preminger, who's a white man. There are no stereotypes. There are no racial slurs present. No like kind of minstrel show, step and fetch it, Amos and Andy shit, none of that. The black people featured here are for the most part very dignified and well spoken, despite the fact that of course you could think of a few different names for a woman like Carmen if you were so inclined to do so, and they actually do call her some of those names in the movie. But that's how the character was written in the opera, and they're just adapting it here. So that didn't bother me at all that a black woman was playing this role, because she's just playing a different version of a character from an opera. They're just trying to be faithful to the adaptation, and they're surprisingly faithful here. Let me also talk about the music itself, because this is a musical film. I was kind of I was definitely expecting it, being this all black movie from the 1950s. I definitely went in expecting like kind of like, I guess, like a jazzy sort of soundtrack. That was kind of what I was expecting, but it borrows the sound, both instrument wise and vocal wise, of the original opera. After doing some research, I found out that most of the characters in this movie, I think about all of them, had to have their voices dubbed by opera singers, because none of them were trained to sing opera classically. I think there's one character, Joe, who, that's Harry Belafonte's character. Joe's other girlfriend, Cindy Lou. I think she was a classically trained singer, but all the rest of the cast weren't classically trained opera singers, so they actually went in and got opera singers to do the dubbing for their voices and sing their parts. Marilyn Horne, who's a very renowned opera singer, did all the singing for Dorothy Dandridge, and that's actually something that was pretty neat to me. Like, they're adapting an opera and they kept it operatic. Like, I recognize, because I've seen the opera Carmen itself. I recognized a lot of the songs from it. I recognized the instrumental music and all that stuff, and it was kind of cool hearing all of that once again. And Carmen does actually have a pretty solid soundtrack that I enjoy. I like a lot of music from that, and yes, that includes the Toreador March. Do 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 do. But there are other good songs as well. And as a matter of fact, I'm sure that if you listen to the soundtrack, you'll recognize more than just that song. So yeah, that's about all I can say about Carmen Jones. It's pretty much a faithful adaptation of the original opera, save for the fact that they move it to the World War II era, and it features an all black cast. They don't really deviate from it too much. So again, no surprises, nothing that stood out in that much to me, save for the performances, particularly of the two leads. The side characters were just kind of there to kind of play these like kind of one note roles for me. None of them like were really dynamic at all, but Dorothy Dandridge and Harry Belafonte had great chemistry together. I like how both of them have like love for each other, but they face this moral dilemma where they kind of know that it's not gonna work out the way they want it to work out. That's pretty much like the most interesting thing about this movie, like kind of watching it, fated lovers, a relationship doomed to fail sort of thing. That was the thing that kept me invested the entire time watching Carmen Jones. And so wrapping it up, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. Nothing too much that stood out about it, save for the lead performances and kind of that that tragic love story. But it has a solid soundtrack. I actually liked how they kept the music close to George Bizet's original opera instead of trying to jazz it up or modernize it like I did kind of expect. It was neat that they did that, and it actually kind of worked for the movie. So yeah, pretty solid watch, and a very nice, though not the happiest of Black love stories to commemorate Valentine's Day. This has been another edition of. So yeah, check it out. Yeah, let me not forget that. Check out Carmen Jones if you haven't seen it already. This has been another edition of Wave Watches, and I will see you all next time. Peace.